Hi, I'm Jenyne Raines, the author of Beautylicious, The Black Girl's Guide to the Fabulous Life, and you are watching Consider It Black Lit.
Welcome to this episode of Consider It Blacklit. I am Kim, your host, and for those of you tuning in for the first time, Consider It Blacklit highlights films, television programs, and stage plays that feature African Americans both up front and behind the scenes. We also discuss social issues as it relates to some of these programs and how they may or may not impact our communities. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope you continue to tune in each week. Today we will highlight the 1958 film Anna Lucasta, starring Eartha Kitt. It is about what is labeled a wild child, promiscuous young lady who gets kicked out of her home by her father. She returns, and a family friend who is a college-educated man meets her, falls in love with her, and marries her. But her past catches up to her, and she leaves. Let's take a look at the trailer.
A child of the night, that's Anna. A passing delight, that's Anna.
One of the most sensationally daring plays of our time, a hit all over the world. Anna Lucasta comes to the screen with every shocking scene intact.
He's not your kind. You'd go crazy in a week without the lights and the swing and a guy that can get you in the groove. And that's what I'm here for, Anna. That's what I'm going to give you.
I'm through with that, Denny. I don't want it anymore.
Hey, get away from it. Anybody looking for it, Anna, can see it in your eyes like I did the first flash I got of you. You don't belong to one man, baby. You'll never belong to one man. You can't.
Today, to help me discuss the film, we have a longtime friend of mine, a writer. She's the author of this book, Beautylicious, The Black Girl's Guide to the Fabulous Life, Jenyne Raines. Welcome, Jenyne.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. But before we talk about the movie, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, Kim, as you know, I'm a writer, author, and now I'm working on a new website called 50 Bold, which of course was inspired somewhat by the great Eartha Kitt, one of my favorite dolls, because we want to talk about aging fabulously, and Eartha did that.
Yes.
Eartha most certainly did that.
She definitely did that. So let's get to the movie. It's a 1958 film. It's a remake of Anna Lucasta that had an all-white cast like 9 years earlier. But they redid it with Sammy Davis Jr. starring in it and Eartha Kitt, and they redid the dialogue. So let's talk a little bit about some of the characters in the movie. There was the father, the person who threw Anna out of the house. He was self-righteous, but he was also a drunk. Tell me what you thought about this
A mean
character.
drunk girl. A mean drunk. But the father's character was actually the most interesting because you really wanted to know what the motivation was. The man had, well, not that this is new to any of us, the man had the bottle in one hand and he's the Bible and he's worrying about going to hell. But you did the most egregious thing. You threw your daughter out.
Exactly. And sent her to the life, I guess, of prostitution or,
right,
you know,
which they didn't want to
around.
say.
Yeah.
You know, but it
Back
was
in
1958.
Right. Yeah, they didn't want to say. So what about the mother, Teresa? Who?
Oh, the mother. The mother loved her daughter. The mother missed her Anna, and so the mother was saintly.
Yeah, she actually was. And then she, I feel like I saw her someplace before. She looked familiar to me. I couldn't place that.
Not the mother. I tell you who you've seen before.
Who is that?
That you've seen Anna Lucasta's sister.
Right. You're right. So her sister Stella.
Yes.
Yeah. And what did we see her before?
We know her, we young dolls, we know her as Mama Winslow from Family Matters.
Oh,
She was Carl's mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a distinguished actress in her own right. Even though Eartha and Sammy Davis Jr. were the marquee names, Rosetta Lenoir was an established actress herself.
Oh, wow. It's good to know she was working back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the character of Frank? That was Stella's husband, but he also was the brother-in-law of Anna. And it seemed like he was calling the shots, but that wasn't even his house.
That wasn't his house, and he was oily as they come, oily as they came, and everybody was listening to him. So I guess what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. And then there was Stanley, Anna's brother.
Yeah, a little needing a backbone, but yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like he just went along with whatever Frank said.
He did.
Yeah.
Went going along to get along.
Right. And then there was Kate, his wife. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she seemed to be the voice of reason.
Oh, because she was. Yes, she was sweet, and she I think she got the dynamics of everything in the household.
Right. So as the story goes, the father gets a letter from an old friend from Alabama saying that I'm going to send my son up there, Rudolph, to find a wife.
That's right.
Because all the young people in their town moved up north and there weren't any suitable prospects. But he also said that Rudolph had $4,000 with him. Let's talk about the reaction of the family when they found that out.
Right, because you want to say, oh, Otis Slocum, why did you mention that? But he did. So of course, Oily Frank was on top of that. All he heard was $4,000, and how can we set this up? Then brother fell right in line because he saw a convertible in his future. So now it's like, yeah, how can we set it up? And then saintly mother was like, this is a good chance for Anna to come back home, back into the fold, and clear her name.
Get married and become a respectable
woman, because that was the goal in 1958.
Because originally they were naming all these people from the church. What about Pastor so-and-so's daughter?
Right. They were going down the list. You know, nah, not her. No, not her. And the mother's like, let's cut to the chase. Anna's cute. She's smart. So she's not doing so well right now. But he could give her a good cleanup. Right.
And they all went along with it, but not for the same reasons that the mother did. They were like, okay, we can trick Anna into to thinking that, that's his lost love of his life, and we can get the money from him.
Right. If this is the easiest way to get $4,000, then I'm down with it.
Yeah. So eventually, Frank forces the father, who was just dead set against Anna being there at all, to go get Anna.
Right.
And originally, she didn't want to go because she was all involved with Sammy Davis's character.
Right.
Who, first, it seemed like he was offering her a home in a different way. But when she brought up marriage, Sammy Davis was like, I didn't say anything about marriage.
Right.
Tell me what you thought about that whole situation.
Well, first I was like, okay, first I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, 1958. And then I thought about it, I'm like, no, things never change. No, he was offering a shack up, so he knew where his good stuff was, but he didn't think it was that great that he should marry it. So that's pretty much how he interpreted that.
Right. Because I was like, at first it was like, oh, Sammy Davis Jr. is trying to make her respectable. But then it was like, marriage.
Right. No, it's just, I just need to know where my good time girl is.
Right, exactly. And he basically, I think they made references to this in the movie, that you just want somebody to cook your meals.
That's all he wanted. And she wanted a roof over her head, so to be honest with you, it was a winning combination.
Right. So she comes back home, and the family, really Frank and Stanley, get really excited about the prospect of $4,000 because what does Frank do? He goes and buys a sign.
Right. Frank buys a sign, and then Stanley's out there with the new car.
Right. It was funny because Frank always had junk in the front yard, but he called it Frank's Antiques, and he put his picture on the sign.
Right, because Frank's, and when you listen to the conversation, Frank's the old-fashioned hustler that totally bought into American capitalism. That's what he was talking about.
Exactly. And then Stanley went and got his convertible.
And
like you said, they were all oily.
They really were.
So it's interesting. So when Rudolph Slocum comes to town, they get surprised because they find out he's a college-educated fraternity boy, and they realize that it wasn't going to be so easy to con him out of his money.
Right.
Tell me what you thought about that.
I said, oh, he's an A&T boy. North Carolina A&T, Florida A&T. He was agricultural, agricultural and technical. But no, they got nervous because they thought that it would be hard to get him to part with his money, and they might not. He would see Anna for who she was. Now, personally, I was sitting up there and I was like, weren't there some women at North Carolina A&T that could have appreciated him? But, again, I got to go along with the flow of the movie.
Right.
So I'm going to say the
funny.
answer was no,
Because Rudolph was kind of fine, too.
Yeah, he was good looking. So, like I said, you really were like, there wasn't anybody at the school.
Yeah. But then the movie wouldn't have been the movie.
How about it? Yeah.
So he gets there, and he takes one look at Eartha Kitt, and he just falls in love with her. Yeah. But I think the family got a little annoyed because Eartha was like, he got $4,000. Well, let me work my charms.
Right. Now, they weren't expecting that. And I don't know why. If she came out to say she came from the same family, why they wouldn't think she wouldn't want in on some money.
Exactly.
I didn't get that either. Especially, you just came off the street. I'd be the first one wanting some money.
Exactly.
That didn't make any sense.
I know, that was funny. But it was interesting when Rudolph first came to the house, how the family acted a monkey fool. The father came home drunk and swinging.
And swinging, yes.
And falling on the floor.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about that.
I couldn't believe the father. I thought that he'd want to make a better impression for his friend, his good friend's son. I just thought was ridiculous. Funny though, but ridiculous.
But even with seeing that, he fell in love with Anna, and Anna confessed to her, her past, and he still fell in love with her and wanted to marry her. I thought that was admirable. But
I did too, and because I would have stretched that out longer about my past, but I had to respect her. That was a 2017 move.
Well, yeah, it was. So let's talk about, because I know when I do these shows, I like to relate it to social issues. So let's talk about women who are promiscuous versus women who are empowered by their sexuality. Tell me what you think about that.
Well, the thing, as it applies to the movie, I didn't think it was a case of her being empowered by her sexuality, because when you listen to the story about why she was thrown out, all she wanted to do was dance, and her father had a real problem with it. And the father's extreme response to everything really made me think the story was more about abuse, sexual abuse. Than anything else. Not that she's like, I want to be with Bob and Joe, and it was more, it was something the father was doing to her, or that the response that she was bringing out of him that he didn't like, that he had to get rid of.
Yeah, it just seemed like there was more to it, because it seemed, like you said, over and beyond him throwing her out, it seemed like he was tortured by something.
Right? Because I think that was part of the reason he was drinking. I didn't think it was a coincidence that he was an alcoholic, and again, an alcoholic that's always worried about the Bible.
Exactly. And like I said, Rudolph eventually married her, but the father tried to sabotage it. Tell me what you think about that? I thought that was kind of crazy, because everybody seemed to be getting what they want.
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at all. It's just like the father was still hell-bent on, which again, it said that there was something more going on, because he was still hell-bent on her not being happy.
Right.
Because I'm like, you got what you wanted out of this. Old Otis Slocum, his friend, should be happy. The son's happy. Everybody's happy. So what's the problem? You've got 4,000. Now you got part of 4,000. You can get more beer. What's the problem?
Right. So it goes back to our speculation that it could have been some abuse there, because that kind of fills in the blanks a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you definitely feel like something's missing, like you're not telling us the whole story.
Right, it's a big chunk of it's missing. Now, part of it seems, and I don't know whether we'd have to read the book. I don't know if the book said anything, but half of it would partially be, a lot of it would be because of the time that the movie was done, and they didn't want to. They were like, it kind of sounds incestuous, but certainly we don't want to be putting that out there in the movie. So
in 1958.
In 1958,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or taking a stand. Now we're so used to people taking a stand and saying they were sexually abused, but you have to remember that that's a relatively new thing. You know, that came about really, when we were coming along.
Right. Which was yesterday.
That's absolutely.
So, like I said, the acting in this movie was phenomenal. One of my favorite scenes was the fight between Anna, Eartha Kitt, and Danny, Sammy Davis Jr.'s character. I mean, Eartha gave as much as she got.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the beginning of, you see that Sammy Davis was not just like the silly good time sailor. He was also kind of he was actually thinking about his future, but you also knew that Anna was blowing through his money because she was painfully unhappy and tortured.
Right, exactly. Because after they got married, tell me what you thought about Anna running out on the wedding. I felt like that was kind of like a punk move. Like, you should have stuck. You already confessed to your husband your past. But you still ran out.
Well, I kind of got that because once she got the information that the father went and, the father went to the dean and was like, she may be sleeping with the students. Yeah, and you realize that, especially as long as the father's alive, you're never going to get a break. And the slut title is always going to follow you, thanks to your father. So it might have almost been a sacrificing move for Rudolph, like, no, you don't deserve all of this.
Right. And her running off with Sammy Davis Jr.'s character was like, you know what, this is the best I'm going to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because at one point he was like, I'm going to go to Brazil or someplace. She was like, take me with you.
Right, because she wants to get as far away from this life and this title as possible.
Definitely. So let's talk about Sammy Davis Jr. They threw in, because he was a dancer, they threw in this little montage of him dancing and tap dancing. What did you think about that? I thought that was awesome.
Now, you know what, Kim? I was on the other side of the fence with that.
Really?
Yes, I was. I was like, and this has to do with what? They gave us a little tease of the dance when everybody was tripping and they were going through every nightclub in San Diego. I got it. I don't know. The little montage didn't do anything for me. Sorry.
I liked it. Go Sammy. But let's also talk about, there was a character in the bar, Blanche. She was the old prostitute. She was hilarious. You can come stay with me, Anna.
Poor Blanche. Blanche was just that representation of, okay, this is not a good look when you get older. This is not where you want to be out on the street. Because Blanche she's still scratching around. The John Thorne is interested. She can't get free drinks like Anna can. She got to bum cigarettes off of people. I mean, Blanche was at the end of the road, really.
Right. It was funny, but it was very sad because you were like, wow, this is Anna's future if she doesn't go home.
Right, if she don't shape up. Yeah.
Well, she had Rudolph there. Yeah. That was funny. Blanche. So let's talk about, there was another character in there I thought was very interesting. When Sammy Davis Jr. first came to the bar, he had a friend with him. And it almost like his friend was trying to talk some sense into him because the friend was like, why don't you marry her?
Right. Yeah, I thought the friend was the voice of reason. Now, the friend almost was like, wow, you're getting a real great deal. She's pretty. She looks like she's intelligent. What are you doing?
And she could do the mambo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So like I had said earlier, this movie was rewritten for all black cast, and they had some great dialogue in there. So I just want to tell you some of my favorite lines. When Sammy Davis Jr. found out that Anna had got married, and she was like, his name is Rudolph. He was like, you married a guy named Rudolph. That's not a name, that's a cigar. And the other line, this is one of Frank's lines. When
Frank had a couple of them.
Yeah, he had a couple of them. When the friend from down south wrote to the father, Frank goes, I hope he's not asking for old clothes because we wearing them.
Right.
It was hilarious. So let's talk about the character in the bar. I call him the 1958 pimp. Remember, he was trying to get Anna to come work at his
Oh
club.
yeah, yes. Suave Bola. They would go up north, and Anna's just like he just kept talking, and he's smooth, and he's just as smooth as they come. And Anna's just like, no, she wasn't having any of it because it's just like, you know what? You're not speaking plain enough for me. What do you mean, hostess? Do you really mean a hostess? What are we talking about here?
And I thought the dialogue was kind of racy for back then. Yeah. Yeah, she was like, what do you mean? And what comes after that?
What comes after that? Right. What are we doing next?
Yeah.
Take me through this.
Take me through this. And then at the end of the day, she just burnt him in the neck when he was trying to grab her and get rough with her.
Get rough with her. Right. So also letting us know that it wouldn't be peaches and cream if she had gone to work at his club.
Exactly. Because I almost was thinking, they set it up making you think that she may actually go work in a club. But I'm glad she didn't.
Right,
she had
right.
enough sense for that. Yeah, I heard that Eartha Kitt used to go out with Sammy Davis Jr.
She did, Kim. She did. Now, they were broken up by the time they were doing Ana Lucasta. But she went out with Sammy Davis Jr. She liked him as a person, but believe it or not, she didn't think he was all that bright. So she, when she met him, he was reading comic books, and he didn't know anything about art. And she was a very smart, self-taught woman. So he really appreciated those things about her. And I think at the time she was going with, she was also madly in love with Arthur Lowe, whose father owned Lowe Cinema.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, now, of course, we already know what Arthur Lowe looks like, and so we know that did not come to any great end. But she did go out and say with Sammy Davis Jr., and they were good friends.
Right, because they definitely had chemistry in this movie, with the mambo in and the hugging and this and that. Yeah.
Because when you think about it, those were both two powerhouse performers, too.
Yeah, yeah. And their performances were phenomenal. Yeah,
yes.
Definitely. So it was interesting that everybody was living in that one house. They had made reference to, like, the economy being bad, and it just seemed like the women were the ones going out doing the work.
Well, okay. Hard to say. Now, everybody being in the one house almost made sense. It almost made sense to me because they moved from down south. They moved to the west to California. So everybody's in the same house till I guess they could get on their feet. What could Stella do? She's pregnant. Katie, and the women were doing the traditional women thing. So I guess everybody was making the best of the situation, because I'm trying to think if this movie was around the same time period. Because even the wealthy whites, like in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I think they were all in the same house as well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't that surprising at that time.
Yeah, but they were definitely having economic problems because, when they heard about that $4,000, it was like a light bulb went off.
Well, on everybody's head. Yeah, but you know what? It's always greed, always greed.
Yeah, definitely. And they had no shame. And these are people who go to church every Sunday.
How about it?
And had no problems trying to literally trying to con him out of his money.
Scheming on the man's money.
Right. So remember when Frank said, he went to college. He pulled a fast one on us. Mr. Slocum didn't tell us his son went to college.
Right.
Now I'm going to have to try to get the money through enticing him into an investment. So there was this whole scene where he was trying to trick Rudolph into investing in some tractors.
Right. But he didn't. But he wasn't ready for Rudolph because, again, I'm making light of A&T.
North Carolina A&T.
There was North Carolina. The bottom line was they were learning science of agriculture and so on and so forth. So he didn't know who John Deere was, and it's scary that I would know who that is because I'm a Northerner.
Right.
But he didn't know any of, what was going on in the changes that were being made in farming. Ergo, why would I invest with you? You don't even know what we're talking about.
Those automatic plows. And Rudolph was like, what? The tractor?
The tractor, right. It's like, come on and get with the program.
And he was like, what is it, beers? He was like, yeah, beers. And then Rudolph starts spurting out some facts about that.
Right.
And he was like, well, I see this is not going to work.
Right, exactly. So, but like we said, Frank was as oily as they came. And Frank was, he's the epitome of good old crass capitalism at its best.
Yeah. But the movie was really good. It was funny.
Yes, it was. That it definitely was funny.
It was touching because let's talk about the last scene. When she had run out on Rudolph of her wedding, she was hanging out with Sammy Davis Jr.'s character, the streetwise sailor.
Right.
And she spent up his money. What did he say? She spent up 6 months worth of pay in 1 week.
Right.
So she remembered that Rudolph had given her some money.
That's right.
So they snuck back in the house, and when they were leaving, they could hear her father moaning. And she was ready to go, but Sammy Davis was like, you gonna just leave him there? Go on in the room. So, they had this little touching scene, and it was interesting how Sammy just got up and left her there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I thought that was great because it also showed that Sammy just wasn't, shucking and jiving, jive talking. He did have a heart, and he said, no, you need to go in there and investigate that. And then when it sounded like maybe something more was going on, okay, it didn't look right, but he was right. He got in his cab and left.
Right. But part of me also thinks that he wasn't that righteous, that he may have been thinking, you know what, this may be more than it's cut out to be.
Yeah,
he's got all these emotional issues. Plus, she spends up my money.
Right.
Because if you notice, when right before he got in the cab, he kind of chuckled like, "Okay, I'm leaving all this mess behind."
Right. No, and that's true too. But again, I couldn't be. Who could be mad at him for that? Who could be mad at?
Yeah, and I like how when Rudolph was coming back from church with the family, he saw Sammy Davis driving off alone, and he got excited and ran to the house.
He ran to the house. Now, you know what, Kim, I got to be honest. That part was a touch on the sappy side for me because I'm like, she left you high and dry on the wedding day, wasn't even wedding night, on the wedding day. And, I thought that was just a little much for me, but that was just me. But, I mean, I also know that they, how do we end this?
Right.
And we want this to end happy, so.
Yeah. I liked it. I'm a hopeless romantic. I like the fact that the man ran to get his woman no matter who she slept with.
No matter how many problems she had. I know. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. He was a man of to his word. He was going to stick by his wife.
He was.
Yeah. So as you can see, Jenyne and I absolutely love this movie. Eartha Kitt and Sammy Davis Jr. tore it up. So you can find this movie, if you want to see it, on DVD on Amazon Prime. And if you're a DVD collector, this is definitely a movie that you want to keep for your collection. So until next time, consider yourself blacklit. Thank you.